Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morganroth, along with Mel Farr and Rick Curdy. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing well. Good. How about yourself?
Doing great. Well, we got a lot of good things to talk about, so let's go out there and get to it. You guys safe in your respective areas?
Yep.
All right, well, Florida can't say that's the case here, but hopefully at some point people will wise up and use that thing called a mask, okay? It's okay to be the Lone Ranger as long as you don't wind up alone in the hospital, all right? So,
yeah.
All right, I don't know where Tano is and probably don't particularly care, but since we're all dealing with a lot of hard knocks with COVID-19, we're going to talk about the show Hard Knocks that'll be in L.A. featuring the Chargers and the Rams. So, Mel, let's go ahead and what do you think about Hard Knocks being out in Los Angeles?
I've never really watched Hard Knocks, to be honest with you, but I think they're going to feature the Chargers and the Rams this year. I think that'll be good. It'll be, obviously, it'll be easy for them. Both of them being out there in Southern California. There's some good storylines of both teams right now. And San Diego's got to have a new quarterback now that Phillip Rivers is gone. LA is trying to rebound, from a poor season that they had last year after going to the Super Bowl the year before. They're not going to have Gurley there anymore. See what they're going to do. See what McVay's going to do. Obviously, they got they traded a lot for the defensive back from Jacksonville, and see how that defense is going to play this year. I think they have a new defense coordinator there as well. I don't think Wade Phillips is coming back, so there'll be some interesting storylines this summer if we have a football season.
Don't feel too bad, Mel. I think we all go ahead and make the mistake and call them San Diego. So, I guess we have L.A. to the second power, L.A. square.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's going to take me a while. They've been there, 2 seasons now? I'm still calling them the San Diego Chargers, so it's going to take a minute.
Hey, listen, you know what? Everybody was saying that when I was up in the Jacksonville press box just recently, so don't feel too bad. But you know what? In the spirit of the conversation, tonight the San Diego Chargers are alive, but not in San Diego. So what do you think, Rick?
I never really watched the show either. I know there's like a behind the scenes and stuff like that, and I get it, Los Angeles, but I mean, who cares about the Rams? Who really cares about the Chargers? I mean, they got a new stadium. The Chargers are always going to be second banana there. How they're going to fill up that stadium when they play, when they can't even seat a 25,000 seat soccer stadium. So, I think Hard Knocks really missed a great opportunity. If I was them, I would have done the Raiders. I mean, you're in Sin City, brand new stadium, and the pictures look sensational. You got Gruden there. What's going to happen with Derek Carr? Is he going to have like a rebound season, or is this the last draw for him? So I think I would have liked to have seen the Raiders myself personally, to be honest.
They did the Raiders last season.
Oh, they did? Well, they're now in Las Vegas, so they can do Las Vegas.
Yep.
No one cares about it.
When they were doing them in Oakland, and obviously they had all that drama with Antonio Bryant, so it made for good TV.
I think Las Vegas Raiders would have. I think they should have done it this season with the Raiders. I mean, Oakland, it's Oakland. I get it. It's Los Angeles, Hollywood, famous people and things like that. But I'm really not interested.
Well, Antonio Brown will always make good drama, Mel. You definitely nailed that one on the head. But yeah, you're right. There's definitely the Hollywood stigma that goes behind this. And again, like Rick alluded to, I believe the stadium is called SoFi Stadium. So, anytime you go out there and talk about $1 billion stadium, you might as well go ahead and give it its first crack to definitely talk about it. Good point there. So, all right, well, Mel, some recent developments. The Hall of Fame game and the induction was canceled, and obviously the Dallas Cowboys and Pittsburgh Steelers will be moved back to 2021, as will the ceremonies. What are your thoughts about what took place here?
I mean, I think that's probably smart. Given everything that's going on, everything is up in the air right now. I mean, they would like to have a season, but as Malcolm Jenkins said, football is not an essential business. So, we'll have to see what happens. I mean, you see what's going on with baseball right now. You see what's going on with basketball. I don't know what you do with a football team. If somebody tests positive for COVID, I don't know what you do. As far as isolation and quarantine and contact tracing and all that other kind of stuff. I don't know how they handle that. So, we'll just have to see. But, obviously, I think really that was just a smart thing to do as far as that is concerned, getting a whole bunch of people there, gathering a large crowd of people. It's just too many risks, and I think that's the only thing they could do.
Yeah, you know what? I was about to bring that up afterwards, so go ahead, Rick. Then we're going to go on to Malcolm Jenkins. Thanks for bringing that up, Mel. I appreciate that. Go ahead, Rick. What's your take on that?
There's no big surprise. I have no idea how the NFL is going to do this. They're having high spikes in Texas. Cowboys are a big draw. They're going to have high spikes in Miami. And how are you going to see the Dolphins and Jaguars play? Even if they don't have any fans, you still have like over 100 people there. You got medical staff. You got assistant coaches. You got the cheerleader. You got so many people there. And you got at halftime, you're crammed into a locker room. How the NFL is going to do this is beyond me. And I've been saying this, and I know I sound like a broken record, but, there's just no way they can have a season this year. It's just way too risky. It's crazy right now. And it's just like this thing has gone worse and worse and worse. And how they're going to pull this off is beyond me. But there's no big surprise that they canceled the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of wondered about the preseason anyways. I think it's probably the worst kept secret. I'm going to go back to what Mel said. Okay, and that's this. You have a position room, whether it's a wide receiver room, quarterback. What do you do when these guys are forced to quarantine? Are you going to continue to find players on the assembly line? The football, no sport has an assembly line where you can go out there and replace these people all the time, and that's where the real big unknown is. Mel, you and I obviously know about the Detroit area, and we're known for assembly lines, aren't we, Mel?
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, football is probably the hardest sport to get somebody off the street to come in and play. Basketball, it's a little bit different. There's a lot of one-on-one that goes on there. I guess they do have some set plays, but I think it's a little bit easier to get somebody to come off the street and play basketball. And obviously baseball, you get up there and swing a bat, or you tell a guy to go out in the field. There's not any plays necessarily in baseball. Maybe a guy has to learn some signals or something like that to know when to do a bunt or to steal a base. But football, especially at a position, whether it's running back, wide receiver, you got to come in, even the offensive line. You got to come in and learn plays, and it's just I don't know how you do it. If you have a whole offensive line room and you have to quarantine them, so that's the first team, second team, and anybody that you might have that's on the practice squad. So now you got to bring in a whole 6-7 guys off the street, and they got to try to learn the protections. And they're back there protecting the guy, whether it's Tom Brady or whether it's Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers. That's a lot to ask. You got a guy back there, making $30 million, and you got, guys that you're paying minimum salaries that you just picked up off the street, and they're protecting these guys. That's a lot to ask. And you're putting, obviously, you're really putting your franchise in jeopardy by having those guys out there protecting that asset. So I don't know how they're going to do it.
So, Mel, do you really believe that football is a non-essential business?
Well, I was just repeating what Malcolm Jenkins said. I was watching him on CNN this morning.
Right.
It is a non-essential business. What would make it essential? Life goes on. Football is a game. We're talking about people's lives here. Lives are more important than a game. But if any of these major league sports were to lose a season, I don't know about the viability of that sport or of certain franchises for the next year. Wow. That's just like with any business. Some of these businesses have had to close during this pandemic, and you see it. A lot of them have gone into bankruptcy because of it. They were barely hanging on as it was, and as soon as this pandemic struck, they filed for bankruptcy. So I don't know how many of these franchises in any of these major leagues can survive a season of not playing.
Well, I got to tell you, though, this. Malcolm Jenkins is in a very desirable situation. The guy just got a job for CNN, so that there's a guy that wouldn't mind not getting punished this year and going ahead and being able to work for the network. He's already got his post-career thing already set up. So good for him being on CNN. Now it's interesting how you make a good point. The Canadian Football League, a league that's been around for the better part of 100 years, the Canadian Football League's in trouble. Who knows if that league will even start?
Yeah, I mean, the money that Malcolm Jenkins, look here, all the guys want to play.
Right.
Basketball, baseball, football, hockey, soccer, they all want to play, but they all want to make sure that it's safe, primarily for themselves and their family, obviously their coaching staff, and any other support staff that may be in there. I mean, you got some of these, you look at some of these owners, I mean, they're up there. Some of these coaches, they're up there in age. And not the head coaches, but position coaches. So, I mean, this is, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of risk involved here. And every time these guys get together, there's always an outbreak. We're hearing it more and more now as baseball is trying to get started up. People are testing positive. Basketball is trying to get started up. People are testing positive. Football, you see Ezekiel Elliott a couple weeks ago, last week, he tested positive. You're going to see and hear more and more of that as we get closer and closer to the time for them to report. Obviously, they're having to get tested, and that's one of the reasons you're finding out. But, what happens if the season does start and week 1 or 2 you have positive tests? What happens? I don't have that answer because I'm not in the loop, so I don't know. But I'm just throwing that out there. I'd like to see how are they going to handle it? How are they going to deal with it? I don't know how they deal with it. I can't see a way. I'm not smart enough to figure out a way for them to deal with that.
I don't think anybody's smart enough to deal with it. So let me take it another step further, Mel, okay? All right, we're talking about a player. But what happens if a player dies over this? Then you got an entirely different dynamic anyhow. So far, so good in terms of no fatalities. But just say 1 or 2 marquee players, let alone any player dies over this. Then all of a sudden you have yourself a big first-class catastrophe. Mel, you chime in. Rick, you go ahead and follow in.
Okay.
Well, you have certain guys like Ryan Clark when he was playing, he had the sickle cell trait. That may make him more susceptible. I don't know how many guys are out there playing, but there's a few guys out there playing right now with the sickle cell trait where they can't play at high altitudes.
Right.
You get somebody like that, or there's diabetics out there that are playing. There's guys who are diabetics that are playing right now. That makes them more at risk to have a serious reaction to this infection, to this virus.
Right.
So I mean, there's the possibility. Yeah, a lot of them are asymptomatic, or they're not getting real ill because of this virus. But all it takes is one. And yeah, if something like that were to happen, that wouldn't look good. That would not look good for the league, for any of the leagues, if something like that were to happen. Not even a player, if it was a coach. Like I said, a lot of these coaches are in that area where they are, they're high risk because of their age. They might have some underlying other health issues and different things of that nature. Some of these coaches have had heart issues that are well documented. So it's scary.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, this is like Russian roulette that they're doing, and I just don't see how this is going to happen. You got owners up there like Jerry Jones; they're up in age. I mean, there's just you have a lot of old owners and a lot of old players and a lot of old coaches. Sean Payton tested positive for it. I think it was one of the first in the NFL that we know of that tested positive for it. So, and then they're going to have to quarantine people. I mean, somebody's going to get it. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, they just had a big, they just had a party somewhere in I think it was in Texas, where it was a birthday party, 18 people tested positive, and this was just a surprise party with people. So how are you going to do when you got 100 people on the field, and you got all those players on the field, and it's a contact sport, and you're in their locker room? So I mean, I just don't see an NFL season happening at all.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to argue it, and I think the Hall of Fame game is just the first of what could be many of the dominoes dropping. Think about this for a second, guys. The Miami Dolphins are supposed to host the Detroit Lions, and the Lions never come down here, and here we are. Miami-Dade, Broward counties, are all in the mix of all this insanity because South Florida is one of the target areas for which is really a bad area. I mean, our area alone is guilty of it. So, yeah, I think that the NFL is starting to learn what all the other sports have learned. that, you know what, we've been lucky enough. We've had the draft. We haven't lost any games. But when it starts to get real, real bad, holy moly. So with that said,
I feel more bad for the college game and the college kids, because who's looking out for their interests?
That's true.
Nobody's looking out for their interests. They're all looking out after one thing, and that's the dollar. That's the only thing the NCAA is concerned about. And by them talking about having a season, to me, is I think that is it's not good, because again, just like the NFL, I don't know how you deal with that. They're talking about bringing an extra 10 players or whatever, allowing each school to have an extra 10 players. That's not enough. I mean, you're talking about kids' lives. These kids' lives are at stake. People are dying from this disease.
Right.
This virus, rather. And if one of you talk about if an NFL player were to die, or somebody in the NFL were to die, if one of these kids were to pass away because of this, that would be a travesty.
That's an excellent point, Mel. Mel, that's a really excellent point. And I think a lot of that is really getting overlooked in all this. I know the pros, obviously, there's a lot of attention, but you make out a really dynamite point, Mel. What about the college football kids that could die as well as the NFL guys? And I think people really need to go ahead and think about that as well. I mean, you're talking about, how many players on a college team, Mel, 90 to 100? And the NFL will probably be up to 60 or 70. Who knows what kind of things they're going to do in terms of making roster adjustments based on the fact that the plus and minuses. So, Rick, go ahead and chime in. Rick?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I agree. I think people are forgetting about these college players, and I think they're you're not thinking about them, and all they care about these dollar signs, and they want to open up these schools. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's nuts. And I'm sure some of them are having secret practices that we don't know of, and people are just not taking this thing seriously. They're just not. They just, governor just make people want to have to wear a mask out where I'm at, because people ain't wearing them, and people are not taking it seriously. And now this thing is attacking younger people now. People like 18 to 23, or people my age. So, it's scary out there, and it's just sad that you have people who just think about money, and they're not thinking about people's health right now.
No question about it. So, all right, we'll go on to football, to a sport that nobody would ever even think about it. But even the COVID-19 cases in the PGA are starting to ramp up, and they're ramping up their testing. And obviously, they're warning of serious repercussions for defying protocols. How about that, Mel and Rick? The PGA with COVID-19, a sport that has a lot of social distancing being on those courses. So, all right, Rick, you lead off with the PGA.
Oh, that's scary. I mean, I said that was the only sport I could see being a success this year is PGA or bowling. I mean, PGA is so much social distancing there, and it's only you or your caddy, and the other person's like far away, and it's scary that they're dealing with this as well. And this thing just doesn't care who it is or what it is or how much money it's worth. It just doesn't care, and they just need to shut down sports this whole year. I mean, this is just a lost year for everything. It's been a horrible year for everybody. Everybody's been affected by this, and they just need to think about people's health and safety. I want to see sports more than anybody, and I want to see college football and everything. But if that means that people are going to get sick and die, no, thank you. So, I mean, they need to shut down the PGA and everything else, because it's just we need to get control of this thing, and it is out of control. It's probably worse now. It's worse now than it was before.
Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, the thing about golf, I mean, like Rick said, I mean, that's one of the sports that we thought that you could do this, but you don't know what people are doing away from the course. We can see them social distancing on the course, but once they get into the 19th hole and they're in the clubhouse and they're drinking, whatever, you don't know how, if they're social distancing in the clubhouse or when they leave the golf course, what they're doing. So whatever it is they're doing in their regular lives, they're going to bring it to the golf course, and of course their caddy, and their caddy's in close proximity to them. So they'll probably, they're going to go ahead and catch it. But golf is still one of those sports where, it's a lot easier to do contact tracing and all that other kind of stuff, and isolate a person and quarantine that one particular individual for however long you need to do it. They've got so many players on the tour. Not every player is going playing at every event, so you can still have competitive rounds of golf being played each and every week. A football team, you decimate one team, you don't have any replacements. You can't put anybody else out there for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I guess you could, but it wouldn't be the same. The level of play just would not be good at all. But the thing that's upsetting about this, you look at where we're heading, where we're trending versus where the European Union, how they're, what their infection rate is like, and even Italy at one time. I mean, their infection rate was terrible. They are all trending in the right direction. They're all trending way downward. I mean, they hit a peak and then they came down the peak real quickly. Well, we hit a peak, we came down a little bit, and now we're going back above where we were before. So it's really, if we had proper leadership, we could have dealt with this virus properly. If we dealt with this virus properly, we may have been successful in having fall sports. When we were talking about this in March, nobody could foresee us being where we are right now in June. Back in March, we thought definitely by September, we'll get our arms around this thing here, and we'll be able to resume our lives as normal in the fall. But the way things are looking right now, and the way our infection rates are going right now, in particular states, right, I can't see it. I just can't see it, and it's just upsetting when you look at how other countries have dealt with this, and how we've dealt with this, and where other countries are, and where we are. And we're supposed to be one of the most technologically advanced countries in the world, and we can't get our arms around this thing.
Well, amazingly enough, some PGA golfers have dropped out of tournaments because their caddies came down with COVID-19, and I think that might be a new trend as this thing starts to affect golf of all sports. So when the caddies get it, the golfers stop. And I think very few people realize that golfers depend on their caddies' advice to try to get them the right club. I think the caddy, for that matter, is the most underrated aspect of a golfer's toolbox. You know what I mean? And when they test, then, holy moly, in my opinion, that's a dynamic very few people even understand. You know what I mean, Mel?
Sure, I understand exactly what you're saying, you got hundreds of golfers, and they can put on a competitive event. You get a couple name guys in there, you got a competitive event. I mean, a lot of the guys at the bottom of the leaderboard, even some of the guys, people that don't make the cut. Some of those people a lot of those people we don't know. They're not people that we know. Occasionally there's going to be people that we know that don't make the cut, but most of those guys we've never heard of them.
Right.
So they'll be able to compete and they'll be able to continue to televise golf a lot easier than any of the other sports because they're not in a clubhouse. They're individuals. I mean, they go to the clubhouse when they go to the golf tournament, but they're not practicing with each other every day. They're not meeting with each other every day. They're not living with one another every day like you do in football when you go to training camp, or when you do, or baseball when they go to spring training, or even basketball. Like right now, even though they're going to be in that bubble, all those players are going to be together in one little area. So if an outbreak happens, it's going to affect everybody. Changes the dynamic for everyone. You're not playing 5-on-5. You're not playing, 9-on-9. You're not playing 11-on-11. It's just one person and their caddy, as you said. That's what it is.
What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when the PGA is getting problems, and out in the world of the NFL and Major League Baseball and hockey and all these other contact sports, how are they going to survive? So, I mean, that's very, very damaging. It's terrible news for people. I'm not really a big golf fan, but I want to see some type of sports, and I always saw that sport I can see doing well. But when their caddies are coming down with it, and they do need their caddies because it is a very underrated position there because they rely on them on where to hit the ball and things like that. So, I mean, it's just... it's scary, and we don't know what's going to happen, in next month, or, we can go get better, we can get worse, we don't know, but, people, the problem is people are just not listening. They're not wearing face masks. They're not social distancing, and they just feel like, hey, if I get it, I'll be all right because I'm young and strong. Well, that doesn't matter. So I mean, we just need to do a better job, and this is really, really bad for sports.
All right, well, we talked about baseball. Guess what? We're going to the Diamond, okay? Rob Manfred says baseball owes it to their fans to be better. This is the worst time for them to have any kind of a dispute about labor and money. I think we've talked about it show in and show out. So how does baseball save their face knowing that even though they're having a 60 games schedule and we have the dates and we're just waiting for the schedule to be released, can they save face with this, or has there been a lot of PR damage with all this? Mel, go ahead.
I think with the fact that the consumer is starving for sports right now, I don't hear a lot of people complaining about these guys, arguing over money. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're working at Home Depot or if you're a Major League Baseball player. Your money is your money, and you want to make sure you get that right. If you're working at Home Depot, I mean, the people wanted to get hazard pay at Target and Walmart and Kroger's and stuff like that, and that were considered essential workers. They want to make sure that money's right, and they have. I'm not upset with them. I mean, you're talking about millionaires arguing with billionaires,
right?
The billionaires, they can handle it. They can withstand it. The millionaires can't. They can't. I mean, I know that sounds funny, but these guys, they need that money. They need their money. I mean, not everybody's a Kershaw is making $35 million a year, whatever it is that he's making. A lot of these guys are just making a minimum salaries, and they need their money, whatever money it is. If they miss a season, they're hurting, because if you're making $1 million, you're spending $2 million. Without a question, because you're trying to keep up with the Clayton Kershaws, as far as what he's spending, and you don't have your money's not that long, so they need their money, and I don't have any problem with it, and I don't think the fans are going to have any problem with it. They're just going to be so happy to see some baseball and looking forward to the time where they can actually go to the ballpark and watch these guys play.
So, Mel, what you're telling me is you don't think they'll be as big of a PR hit knowing that they're planning to play the 60 games, so it's not going to be as bad. It could probably get ugly during the next labor contract, but right now the players and the owners and everybody's in good standing, right? So they get a mulligan for at least getting it. If they lose the season to COVID-19, then it won't be as damaging of what the 94 strike did. So you think that baseball's PR situation is semi-corrected?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're fine. I mean, this is nobody's fault.
Right.
So everybody's trying to figure out how to deal with it.
Yeah,
labor dispute, when you have a strike or you have a lockout, that's entirely different. This has nothing to do. Everybody was ready to play baseball. COVID-19 showed up, and then you can't play baseball. Now you just got to figure out, well, how are we going to restart it? How many games we're going to play? All that other kind of stuff. How are we going to divide up the money? Whether got players going to get full prorated salaries. The owners only want to give them a certain amount of their prorated salary. So yeah, those are things that they had to talk about. They had to negotiate that stuff. So they've gotten that stuff behind them now, and now they're ready to play ball. They told them to report whatever day they're supposed to report, and they're going to go ahead and do that. And we'll have baseball. No harm, no foul. I don't think there's going to be a problem.
Yeah, right. I agree with that. I think
he might think differently.
Well, no, I agree with you. I think the PR hit is minimal now that you got the 60-game season. Nobody worry about fans. That's an afterthought now. So as a result, whatever happens to the next labor agreement, obviously you'll deal with it. But I don't think, they'll have time to work it out. But at least there's going to be 60 games anyhow. The sport will be played. And you're right, the billionaires can certainly offset some of the hits, and the fans will get their baseball craving. So, Rick, go ahead. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think baseball's taking a major hit on this. I mean, nobody wants to see millionaires and billionaires fight over more millions and billions when people are making, like some states like where I'm at, making $7.25 an hour. So I think they've taken a big hit, and I think what's helped it is that they are going to have a season. But my thing is, will they have a season? Because this thing is spiking in the wrong direction. And what are they going to do? Are they going to leave Texas Rangers off the schedule? Are they going to leave state of Florida off the schedule, or any of these other states that are getting these high ratio numbers? I mean, I don't see a season, even though they agreed to a season. I don't see it happening. You're going to get players that are going to come out and say, I'm not going to do it. You see it in the NBA. You see it with Malcolm Jenkins. You're going to get some Major League Baseball players that are going to say, I am not going to play this year because I don't want to risk my health. and I'm not going to risk my safety. So, and a lot of them are millionaires. We're never going to see that type of money. So, I mean, baseball has done a poor job at this. What saved them was having the 60-game season. Now the question is, will they have a season? And I really, really don't know. To me, it's like Russian roulette. It is way, way too risky.
Yeah, but if they lose a season, though, at least it won't be because of the dispute. COVID-19, Mel and Rick, you get the mulligan. At that particular point, you can't blame it because health takes precedence over anything else. And you want to talk about a sport that's in trouble right now that they're not sure about. The WNBA right now is dealing with the same bubble, but yet at the IMG Academy out in Bradenton, and don't tell me that a lot of these ladies aren't having second thoughts. Remember, they're mothers, caretakers, and so forth. So anything that's going to happen in the state of Florida, without a doubt, is certainly in trouble. But yeah, again, the PR hit, Mel, I agree with you. There is no more PR hit. If COVID-19 wipes it out, the fans look the other way. Okay, it's not safe. We'll understand it. But at least they can get over the fact that now all the bickering is over with. But I give Rob Manfred credit that baseball does owe it to their fans to be better. He's just trying to save face a little bit that, you know what, okay, this wasn't handled well, whether he feels he made mistakes taking this in the media to bring out the dirty laundry, but that happens all the time, So Rob Manfred's just trying to get to the head of this whole thing, and I completely understand. I don't think any commissioner would have had an easy task dealing with COVID-19. I really don't. And Rob Manfred, whether he's criticized or not, I think any criticism is really unjust because he's in a really tough, precarious spot, knowing that this is a no-win situation all the way around. All right, so we'll take everything from the diamond over to the hard court. And here, get this, guys. 3 Sacramento Kings tested positive. Jabari Parker, center Alex Len, and guard Buddy Hield all tested positive for COVID-19. Now, I don't know if the Kings are in the final bubble, but nevertheless, okay, we're talking bigger name players in the NBA. Are they going to be thinking a lot about this in Orlando? And these 3 guys are also being are in the news for all the wrong reasons. Rick, you go ahead and lead off this time.
And like I said, I don't know why the NBA is even trying to do this. I mean, this is just insane. I mean, you can't get more contact in basketball, and you're going to have it in the state of Florida. I mean, that was already spiking up like crazy anyway. Now it's just completely out of control because the leadership there has just kind of like dismissed it and just didn't think it was a big deal. And so the NBA it's crazy. They just need to just forget about this season. I don't even know where other place they can play it. And now you're getting more players testing positive. You're going to get more players, and you're going to get more people get sick if they do have a season. And you're having it in Florida of all places. So, I mean, this is just terrible for them. I know they were going to start something, but now they've put a pause on it, and they really just need to just say, you know what, there's nothing we can do. We've tried everything, and we're going to have players that are going to opt out. You already have several that say, well, I'm not playing this season. So, I mean, to me, it's a wash. So you just need to get ready for 2021.
Mel, what are your thoughts about the Kings situation?
I mean, if you're going to get it, now is the time to get it, because I don't think they have to. When do they report back? July 15th or something like that? So, I mean, they have plenty of time to recover and get healthy, and hopefully they'll have some immunity to the virus when they get down there. It's not something they would have to worry about. My concern is, is the stars, the faces of the league, LeBron James in particular, your Kawhi Leonards, so people like that. If one of those guys were to get sick and they had to get quarantined, that players drive the league. People watch NBA basketball to watch players, and if you lose your marquee players, then what do you have? You don't have anything. So that's my concern is more in that area. I mean, Sacramento, they're not gonna. Sacramento wasn't going to compete for a championship anyway.
Well, I don't even think they're in the bubble, Mel, so I guess they don't have anything to worry about. It's just the publicity that the players have gotten so far. I agree with you. I don't even think they're in the tournament, but nevertheless, you're right. Let's go back to your point about LeBron James. Heaven forbid LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, along with some of the other stars. Holy moly, can you imagine the dynamics there? Continue on, Mel.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to get sick now. they're going to catch it now. I mean, I know the Lakers were involved. I think they were involved with that game with the Nuggets when the one guy, the first NBA player, came down with the coronavirus, and I think
Rudy Gobert.
All the players in, or Rudy Gobert, or either it was the Brooklyn players or something. The Brooklyn team that they had just played, and
right.
A lot of the players got tested way back then. We don't know what's happened from the time the NBA stopped till now because the guys haven't really gotten tested. I know they got tested soon after, but in between then and now, we don't know what has happened to those guys and what their health is like. But hopefully, hopefully they've gotten the virus, were asymptomatic, and they have a little immunity to it. And if we're able to get some basketball, we'll have all the marquee names will be down there and competing for a championship. But just like Rick said, I don't know how. Even though they're in that bubble, one player gets it. These guys are in close proximity to one another. You're banging against each other on the court. I don't know. I don't know. My thing is, with any of these sports, what's going to happen when one of these guys tests positive? That's why while they're playing. That's what I'm anxious to see how they're going to handle that.
Well,
that's what I don't know.
It also goes back to the time when Magic Johnson had the HIV virus and everybody got worried about that. What do you think they're going to have with COVID-19? Don't think the magnitude of the situation to be a million times higher, let alone add social media to the equation, and you got yourself a real big headache there. All right, two other topics I want to get to. Can you believe this? We're talking about golf. Now we're going to go to the New York City Marathon being canceled due to COVID-19. Who would have thunk this? Rick?
Yeah, I mean, everything's getting canceled. I mean, this is not really a big surprise. And, Boston Marathon, too, and, all these other marathons, LA Marathon, all these marathons, everything's going to be shut down because of COVID-19. I mean, that's a lot of people run. They're all together. They're all close proximity. You got fans there. You got thousands and thousands of people there. So, I mean, this is not no big surprise. It's sad. It's disappointing, but, I mean, this is a no-brainer. And like I said, they just need to shut down all the sports and get ready for 2021 because, I mean, it's just we're going in the wrong direction right now.
Go ahead, Mel. New York City Marathon's the latest casualty in the cancellations.
Yeah, I mean, that's not really a surprise. People come from all over the world to run in that marathon, and you think about New York and what they've done and the hard work that they put in. They obviously don't want to have something like that there in their city. Or excuse me, you said it was New York or the Boston Marathon?
No, New York City. New York, right? Rick's the one who brought up Boston. I'm bringing up New York.
People come from all over the world to run in the marathon, and they've worked real hard to get their numbers down and get their arms around this thing. And the last thing you want to do is have some type of super spreader event, all of a sudden, you're having to shut down businesses and do all that stuff and, start all over again. So, yeah, that's the only thing that it could do.
What do you think, Rick? New York City Marathon, I know you mentioned this, so let's elaborate. New York City Marathon, we've gone to the PGA, things that we would have never, we normally don't talk about a lot on this broadcast, but they're applicable in this one.
It's just inevitable. I mean, it's just everything. Like I said, all these marathons, Boston Marathon canceled theirs too, and they're all of them are going to get canceled. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. I mean, you just have hundreds and thousands of people there, and people from all over the world, and I mean, just one person gets it, and he could just spread it around. I mean, the scary part is 18 people tested positive at a surprise birthday party in Texas, and the party lasted 2 hours. 18 people. How many people are going to get infected if they have a marathon? I mean, it's insane.
Okay, one more final point tonight. Okay, as of Wednesday night, I know we touched on it. Now we're going to go into more detail, all right? As of Wednesday night, 13,865 people in Florida were hospitalized due to COVID-19. So in retrospect, will we actually have NBA basketball? Because right now, the longer this thing persists, the more I have my doubts about this. I mean, think about it, guys. 13,865 people in Florida. We're not talking WNBA. We're talking actual NBA. Will this happen at all? Now,
I think they're going to try.
Okay.
I think all of them are going to try. But the thing is going to be what happens when they get that first individual to test positive. So that's what I'm anxious to see. I think it's all wishful thinking right now as far as being able to play these sports. in particular football, I just don't know how I don't know how you do it. I mean, it's a contact sport. People are breathing heavy and, in close proximity to one another. I mean, it's just a perfect storm to spread this virus rapidly. So, I think it's all wishful thinking at this point. But again, I'm not so much worried about the professional leagues. I mean, these are grown men getting paid. I'm worried about these kids. Right. I'm worried because we have such a hunger for college football that they'll do just about anything to make sure that they get that money. And, a lot of programs obviously a lot of programs were in peril because we didn't have the tournament this year, the NCAA tournament, and that hurt a lot of these programs. If they lost a football season and the sales that are generated, the revenue that's generated from a football program, and you don't get that into the athletic department coffers, that could potentially damage a lot of universities' athletic departments, because the money that comes from the tournament and also from football, they pay for a lot of these other sports. Particularly some of the non-revenue generating sports. So I'm concerned about those kids. That's what I'm concerned about, because who has their best interest at heart? The NCAA, I guarantee you, does not. I can't say that the universities do, because they're all talking about opening up campuses and bringing the kids back and all that kind of stuff. So I can't say that they have the kids' best interest at heart. And, they're kids, so who's looking out for them? I'm more concerned about them than I am the NFL, because the NFL and the NBA, and they're there to make money.
Right.
That's what they're there to do, and it's their decision as to whether or not they decide to go ahead and do this or not do it, and just take a hit, and we'll just cancel it all, and we'll do this next year. And really, they could take the lead, because if they decided not to do it, then obviously college athletics would follow suit.
Right. Well, yeah, I guess you're right, Mel. I know the NBA will try to do it, but my prediction is they're going to try to do it, and talk to me in about 2 or 3 months. But I think that what will happen is we won't see the NBA Finals. I think this thing gets shut down within 3 to 4 weeks. I really think that's what my prediction is. What do you think, Mel? That they're going to try, but it gets shut down. It won't even see itself through the end of the cycle. What do you think about that observation?
Well, I mean, I think the NBA, because the season is going to be much shorter. The teams are going to be, every week, the teams are going to be dwindling down. I think they got a much better chance of finishing up than any other team that's starting out. Any other league, rather, that's starting out. You're talking about football, they're trying to start up. Baseball, they're trying to start up. The NBA is just trying to finish up, and they want to crown a champion.
Right.
I think they'll try to figure out a way where they can crown a champion for the 2019-2020 season. The other leagues starting up, that's different.
Right.
To me. You don't have to start up. You can look at this thing and be realistic and say, this is going to be. I mean, for every problem, you have to have a solution. And
right.
I just don't know if you have enough solutions to all the problems.
That's true.
Everything that can go wrong, I don't know if you have an answer to everything that can go wrong. So it's just a lot easier to say, hey, let's just wait, see if we get a vaccine for this, and let's start this thing back anew in 2021.
Yeah,
they've had to cancel sports in other years because of certain things, whether it be world wars or whatever the case may be. So, I mean, I think this is just one of those situations where this is out of everybody's control.
Right.
There's nothing that we can do about it. We're not in control. The virus is in control. Until we can get our arms around this thing, the best thing to do is just not have sports.
Yeah, I think the one thing the NBA does have going for it, though, Mel, is their roster sizes aren't as high, and once more and more teams don't make the playoffs, then there's a little bit more wider space for them to move around. So I think that does work to their advantage. All right, Rick, go ahead, Mel. I'm sorry.
The roster size is good, but if you have a finals and let's just say let's say Milwaukee and the Lakers make it to the finals.
Uh-huh.
And there's no LeBron, and Milwaukee just runs through the Lakers. Do you really have a true champion?
Excellent point.
Have you truly crowned a champion?
I agree. Excellent point. Yeah, I agree. Because then you're at a major disadvantage where your top player's not there, and then you have an overmatch. The teams are overmatched due to unforeseen, unprecedented circumstances. So, excellent point, Mel. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you, Rick. What do you think?
I don't see any sports happening. If we do have a season, it will be shut down. MLB will be shut down. NBA, they're going to try, but I just don't see it happening. You know, it's just not worth it. And it's just, like I said, this whole year has been a wash, and they just need to focus on 2021. And like I said, once your big players are gone, like LeBron or, Mike Trout, imagine Mike Trout gets COVID-19. I mean, Major League Baseball's in serious trouble because they don't have a lot of people they can market. It's pretty much just him. So, I mean, you lose those big stars, people ain't going to watch the games, and you're going to put people's, health, at risk? No. So if they do start, it'll be shut down. I see the NBA getting shut down, and Major League Baseball, like I said, they'll try, but I see that getting shut down, and it's just bad all around. Just got to reboot for 2021 and get ready. And I think some of these players, when they get out there, I mean, they haven't played in a long time. They're going to be rusty, just like the NBA. They're not going to be at their top game. They're going to be rusty, so they got that at their disadvantage as well.
All right, you guys make some excellent points tonight. You really do. Again, Mel, and I tell you what, I do empathize because I know you work with a lot of youth sports. But yeah, we cannot lose sight of the fact that you're dealing with students that can get ill. Let's not forget about the paying athletes for a moment. Let's talk about the college athletes, because I don't think that they get enough respect and consideration in this whole thing. It's one thing when you're being paid to play. It's another for young kids if anything were to happen to them. So I'm glad that you really emphasize that, Mel. I really, really am, because I think that's the one situation that tends to go overlooked in this whole thing. Guys, you both did an outstanding job. You're listening to the Sports Exchange on WSAN Network. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Mad Mouth, along with Rick Curdy and Mel Farr. You guys doing a great job. So meanwhile, all right, with that said, Mel, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
On any of the social media, you can get a hold of me at Mel Farr Jr. Email address, melfarjr@gmail.com, and to follow what we got going on, you can follow us. You can look at our website at melfarr.org.
All right, Rick, go ahead.
You can contact me on my website at www.charlottebats.com. Our email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. I'm on LinkedIn as Charlotte Bats. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB, Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm also on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. Instagram is Charlotte Bats. And you can contact me in any of those social media networks. And I'm also on Instagram at Charlotte Bats. So you can contact me anywhere.
Plus, you're a very big contributor for us. I know you help us do a lot to promote the website as well. We appreciate what you do. With that said, you can follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. That's the @ Tribune South. Facebook, South Florida Tribune. Like the page to get updates. Instagram, South Florida Tribune. We put some things up there from time to time. Please like us there. YouTube channel, we're developing that quite a bit. South Florida Tribune will have more and more videos to build the platform even more once COVID-19 does go away, whenever that may be. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. Our email address is southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Scott Morganroth. You are listening to the Sports Exchange on WSAN Network. You can also find this broadcast at www.southfloridatribune.com or wherever you get your podcasts. So on behalf of Mel Farr and Rick Curdy, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Mad Mouth, hoping that everybody, please don't be safe. I really feel that the second wave is coming, and we've got to be smart about this thing. Don't underestimate this virus. It is a very dangerous virus. We've talked about it week in and week out, and I wish I had more to say about it. But, folks, this thing's going to get worse and it's going to get better. And we hope that, like Mel said, that we'll get a vaccine. But until we do, please be safe. So, great job, guys, and we'll go out there and do it again next week. So, once again, have a great weekend, and we'll see you the next time on the Sports Exchange.